All right, we are live, guys. Look who I have here with me, Robert Spencer. Guys, people were like, couldn't believe that I managed to get you on the show. Well, thank
Oh,
you
that's
so
good.
much, Robert. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we before we went live, I was basically just talking about Robert's book and how much I admire it. But I'm going to talk about more like I've already mentioned this book a couple of times on this show. Did Muhammad exist? But because the title right now is about Iran and Israel, I'm going to mention this at the end of the show. And also, guys, please make sure that you check Robert's website. The link is in the description. Jihad Watch. I mean, a lot of you guys know already Robert's website, but it's a really good source of information. So make sure that you don't miss out on. And your socials, Robert, is also on the website as well, right? Your Facebook,
Yes.
your Twitter, everything. Yes. Okay. So, Robert, again, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank
I'm
you.
so honored. I just, I'm really fascinated to know. I want to know about your views regarding the recent events on between the Islamic Republic. Again, I call it the Islamic Republic because I don't like to call it Iran, because when I say Iran, I'm referring to the Iranian people, and I don't think it's fair to say Iran versus Israel, because it's not the Iran versus Israel; it's the Islamic Republic versus Israel. The Iranian people are more and more becoming fans of Israel, united with Israel, and they consider Israel's attack on the regime an attack on their oppressors, not an attack on Iran itself. So that's why if I keep saying the Islamic Republic or the regime, that's the reason. But I do want to see, because I saw that you were calling out a whole bunch of people with the 12-day war. You're calling out the fake news, the Islamic Republic's propaganda regarding how that war went. And I think we were making, if I'm correct, you were making fun of the people who were trying to twist the narrative to try to look like the Islamic Republic won that war. Is that correct? Like, can you tell us your views about it? Because I want to also ask about your predictions going forward after we go over that.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, there were some people in the Iranian regime who were
Yeah.
saying that they had won. And in a certain sense, you can understand that because Hezbollah said the same thing. The guy who is what's his name? The head of his
Nasrallah?
no, not the dead one, the one that replaced him.
Oh,
Is it
oh, the Walking Dead one.
Naim Qassem, I think his name is.
Yes,
If I
yes, yes,
recall
yes, yes.
correctly. And
Yeah,
anyway,
Qasim.
he was saying for us to survive was the victory. And that's
Mm,
true because the jihad doesn't end. This is what Westerners don't understand. They think this is going to be something where they sit down at a table and sign a treaty and it'll all be over. The jihad never
mm.
ends. So, insofar as the Islamic Republic survived, they did win. But otherwise, they suffered terrible losses and they might be on their way to destruction from, as you noted, the hatred that their own people have for the regime. And
Right.
the regime is so unpopular in Iran today that we can hope that it's on its last legs.
Right. So in Iran, we have a saying, we say Shia hiç vaqt bakh nemide, meaning that a Shia will never admit defeat.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the Monty Python sketch where the guy is like, this is nothing but a scratch, as no matter how much like and they
Yeah.
actually admitted, they're like, you know what, if you defeat us, then we have become martyrs and we have won. And if you don't defeat us, then we have won. So it's a win-win for us in any way. So
Well,
they're like,
Armin, that's a very important point because that's how the jihad armies have won throughout the centuries. They set up this
right,
win-win situation. If you win in this world, you get the booty, you get the women, you get the property of the
right,
unbelievers. And if you lose, you get the whores in paradise.
right.
So you can't
Sure.
lose. You win either way.
Either way. Yeah, yeah. Um, so what do you? There's a lot of anti-Israeli narratives is being spread all over the world right now, and as successful, especially around the Gaza situation, but also regarding Israel's attempt to regime. And I do think it's an attempt for regime change in Iran, which we Iranian people are actually hoping that they are successful at it. Many of us, yeah, and there are also many Iranians in the chat right now that are that are hoping that Israel is successful in helping the Iranian people do the regime change. The regime change will be done by the Iranian people, but we do need outside help because the Iranian people are not armed, right? But it's really difficult because as successful as Israel is when it comes to military and operations and intelligence operations, they're losing the information war. And I don't know if you could describe all the forces right now around the world that are uniting against Israel. And do you think that matters to Israel? Do you think that it does cause some damage and on its success? And why is it that, so we have obviously the Islamic forces against Israel, that's obvious, and also the leftist forces, that's also obvious against Israel. But now we also have the rise of many people on the right against Israel joining this force. And first of all, do you think it matters, or Israel will just do its thing regardless? And if it does matter, why is this happening, and what can we do about it?
It matters a great deal, and it's already delayed the victory that Israel would have won and could have won in Gaza, and imperiled Israel's situation in the long term. It's clearly a planned, concerted effort, because, like, take for example the charge of genocide, which is false. The population in Gaza has increased since the war began. There's no genocide in Gaza. But not only is this taken for granted all over the world, but it was planned from the beginning. For example, Zohran Mamdani, the guy who's going to be the next mayor of New York City, he said in November 2023, when the Israeli offensive in Gaza had barely started and hardly anything had happened at all, and because it was several weeks before they even went in, and after October 7th, and Mamdani already was charging them with genocide. It was a clearly planned effort that took advantage of what happened on October 7th in order to wage a worldwide propaganda offensive against Israel. Makes a very big difference, because without international public opinion, Israel can't move. The proof of that was shown by the Biden administration when they held up weapons shipments to Israel, because it had become such an unpopular cause, particularly on the left. They were afraid they would lose the election, which of course they did, and that it would be in part because of their support for Israel. So they tried to play both sides against the middle, light the candle at both ends, and hamstring Israel's ability to wage the war while maintaining public support for Israel, funding Iran. Biden sent $20 billion to Iran, and that is to the Islamic Republic, and unfortunately not to the people. And the Gazans got 100 million, and that's Hamas, because there isn't any way to distinguish between Hamas and the Gazans, as we have seen with the aid controversies and the fact that Hamas appropriates the aid that comes in. Biden says, I'm going to send $100 million to Gaza for humanitarian aid. That means he's funding Hamas. So you have that as a result of the propaganda offensive that put the Democrats in a corner and made them think we have to abandon Israel in order to maintain any kind of viable footing in the election. It didn't work, but it shows the power of this propaganda.
But would you agree that it's not just the Democrats, because Trump also stopped the 12-day war from succeeding right when Israel was about to do the final blow, and also potentially they were about to take out because Israel right at the beginning, the few hours right at the beginning, came out and destroyed all of the main military officials of the IRGC. It was beautiful. It was like a miracle. It was unbelievable. And then at the end of the 12-day war, they were about to go with the main politicians and potentially including Khamenei, and Trump stopped it. And I actually, before the 12-day war ended, like right in the beginning of the few hours, I told my Persian audience on my Iranian audience channel that the Islamic Republic is over unless Trump comes and stops this from stops Israel. And a lot of people are like telling me, like, what are you talking about, Armin? Why would Trump do that? And I'm like, I think Trump is going to stop it. And my prediction came true, and Trump stopped it. So this information were like, do you agree that it's also on the Republican side, that basically we could have lived in a world right now without the Islamic Republic right now? Yeah, but go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Trump's a very strange character. He's very erratic, and I can't understand him at all. I don't pretend to understand him. The Democrats, at least, they seem understandable, that they've got this big constituency that hates Israel. That is the three congresswomen, Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and AOC and so on, and they have to placate them. But the Republicans, I don't get, because Trump came in saying he was completely in favor of Israel. He's maintained that as a rhetorical stance, but he has gone back on it very severely, not only by stopping them from taking out Khamenei, not only that, but also at the very beginning of his second administration, when he made them agree to that hostage deal where they got a few of the hostages back in exchange for all these murderers and terrorists that are free now because of Trump. And so Trump, it seems like he wants to be known as the peacemaker, the guy who ends the wars, because he campaigned against the endless wars. And that's good. It's stupid for the United States to waste its resources on these endless conflicts with no resolution that end up with a defeat, like in Afghanistan and Iraq.
Oh, did we lose Robert? Guys, do you have me? I think we lost Robert for a second. Am I frozen, guys, or is it just Robert? I think we're going to wait for Robert to get fixed. Guys, am I okay? You guys might have my audio.
Yeah, it seemed like everything went black there for a bit. But
okay, there you go. You're back. You're back. Oh, frozen again. Oh, frozen again. We lost him. Okay, I'm good. So while we wait for Robert, let me tell you guys. Oh, you're back. Okay, fantastic. Sorry about that.
I don't know what's going on, but anyway, Trump's completely erratic. He seems to want peace at all costs, which means even stopping Israel from defeating the jihadis in a way that would set the jihad back decades, if not centuries. The jihad's never going to end. You know that, because as long as they're believers, they'll be jihadis, because the jihadis read the book and they see what Muhammad did, and some of them become, that is, Muslims read the book, some of them become jihadis. In any case, the thing about Trump is he doesn't have any idea of that. He doesn't have any understanding of that. And so he thinks that they can make some kind of a deal, because that's what he's a businessman who makes deals, and then there'll be peace. And he's, unfortunately, is just going to enable the jihadis to continue, because as Naim Qasim said, survival is a victory, that they continue so they can gather strength and fight again later.
Yeah, I think what many people, including Trump, don't understand is that, I mean, Israel understands this, is that you get long-lasting peace by crushing your enemies, not by signing papers, not by agreements, not by appeasements. Long-lasting peace comes through war, and a successful war. Every time Israel managed to get long-lasting peace, it wasn't because it was after they absolutely crushed the people who meant to do them harm. That's how you get long-lasting peace, not with ceasefire, but by destroying the people that. And again, you're right, because this is in their DNA. They look at ceasefires as a way to regroup, recover, rearm, retrain. That's what they did. They don't look at it as a way to just stop the war.
Law. You only conclude a treaty with non-Muslims when you're losing, and you need time to gather strength to beat them later.
Right. I mean, this is the way based on what I've studied, this is the way I look at it, and also because I grew up in Iran. I lived there for 20 years. So, and this was,
Where? What city?
I look Shiraz and Tehran.
Oh, wonderful.
So
Shiraz.
7 years.
Every time I have some wine, Shiraz wine, I think Iran used to be a place that actually made this. They come from there.
Yes, 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 she was right. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, throughout my childhood, we were always told that the eventual we will like the regime will eventually. I say we because they grouped us in with them. That it will one day destroy Israel and one day the United States, and that's the goal and that's the purpose. And a lot of people don't understand why. For example, when we look at the Islamic Republic and IRGC, they consider themselves to be revolutionary, and I think many people don't ask themselves why are they revolutionary. The revolution ended, like they were the victors of the 1979 Islamic Revolution. So usually when people are revolutionary, when they get the government, they're not revolutionary anymore. But I think what the people don't understand was that the revolution was not against the Pahlavi dynasty. The revolution was against the world liberal order, and it has 3 phases. So the first phase was the Pahlavi to get Iran to use the resources of Iran to then get the Middle East. So the Pahlavi was in their way in Iran. Israel is in their way in the Middle East, so they need to remove Israel to get the Middle East, and the final boss is the United States. I mean, many people don't understand the Vilayat Faqih version of 12 Shia Islam in Iran was impacted by Muslim brotherhoods coming through to Iran through Nawab Safavi, and the Muslim Brotherhood wasn't successful into creating an Islamic bloc. So we had 3 attempts. The Pan-Arabist bloc against the West failed because of Israel. And then we had the Sunni Islamic bloc against Israel that failed, and now we're attempting a 3rd time a Shia Imamate instead of a Sunni Caliphate, a Shia Imamate to create a bloc against the West. And just like Pahlavi was seen as an agent of the Western powers in Iran, Israel is seen as an agent of the Western powers in the Middle East. So the phase 2 is to remove Israel to then get to the United States and the rest of the West. And that's why people don't understand that this is all they want to do. So that's why you can't negotiate with them, because you can't remove this from their ideology. Do you agree with
it? It's so important. And this is something that people in the West routinely ignore. I see so many times the supreme leader or the president or some top mullah, and they are saying exactly what you're saying, that this is a global revolution. We're taking this revolution everywhere. We're going to destroy Israel. We're going to destroy the United States so that we can bring the Islamic revolution to the West, ultimately. And people think, well, that's crazy. Iran can't defeat the United States. Of course. They're not talking about going to war in some conventional fashion and having their military go up against our military. It's a much different kind of war. And yet no policy analysts or diplomats or people of that nature anywhere in the West pay any attention to these statements, and they routinely discount them, and they treat the Islamic Republic as if it were a secular state that has the same motives and goals as any other secular state. And nobody in the State Department, I would wager, not a single person, has any idea of the 12 Shiite theology or its political implications.
Would you agree that the Islamic Republic right now is the greatest evil and the greatest threat to the world and the stability and the order that we have right now? Would you agree with that?
There are a lot of threats to the stability and order of the world, but they're certainly way up there. The People's Republic of China is, I think, also a very big threat in terms of spreading authoritarianism by means of Chinese economic hegemony that will lead to political hegemony that could cause a lot of trouble for the future. That's something that actually they could work with the Islamic Republic on. Would not be a surprise at all because of the global leftist Islamic alliance. We see that with the Islamic Republic funding groups such as the communists in Spain and leftist groups in Venezuela as well, the Venezuelan government for that matter, that they see themselves as having similar views, the similar goals in mind. And so they're happy to work together. I think ultimately that alliance will break up, just as Khomeini put the communists in Iran in prison after they had helped him gain power in 1979. The left
and executed
same thing happening.
And executed like thousands of them.
Yeah, exactly. They thought they were going to share power. But
Yeah. I mean, this happens every time.
yeah,
Every time the leftists unite with the Muslim forces, and what the leftists bring to the table is political know-how and networking and access to academic centers. This is how we Iranians lost our country. And there is the Muslim people come with their mosques and their network in, so the leftists come with their networks in the elite, the Muslims come with their networks into the other people, like the people in the bazaars or the people in the mosques. But the Muslims will bring something that the leftists don't have on the table, which is the brute force and the violence. So they complete each other. But as soon as they win, then the Muslim forces, I'm trying not to say Islamist because I don't see any difference between Islamists and Islam.
exactly.
But as soon as they come into power, then they realize that, oh, we don't need the leftists anymore, and they just wipe them out every single time. Right? So, and this is why we Iranians should be warning the Europe right now, because we lost a country to the unity, and our king Mohammad Reza Shah warned the world more than 40 years ago. He called it the unholy alliance of red and black being Shia, red being the communists. And so I think we're good.
We can warn the West all we want about this, but if it weren't for France, then Khomeini would never have been there ready to take power in 1979.
Right.
But they sheltered him, they protected him, they aided him, they brought him back to Tehran. So,
and now this is why a lot of people in Iran hate the influence of the French government. And even today, they are the main voices against regime change in Iran right now. Which is a shame, which is like a lot of this is not good, but a lot of Iranians, when they see Islamism or Islam, I shouldn't say that, Islamic forces rising in France, some of them are happy. They're like, here's a taste of your own medicine. Like, you did this. Like, I hope Islam takes over your country. Again, guys, French people, that's not what I think. I'm just saying some Iranians, they're so bitter over the fact that France helped Iran becoming an Islamic country that they think like maybe France deserves becoming Islamic as well, because that's what they did to us. Again, that's not fair to many French people.
It might not be, but it's understandable why they would feel this way, because they feel like the supposed free world betrayed us, and now our country's been enslaved for 45 years as a result. And so no, I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but I certainly understand the feeling.
Right. So regarding, you mentioned China. So I don't know if you agree. I consider the enemies of, the West to be China. I mean, not China, it's CCP, Putin, North Korea's government, and the Islamic Republic. Right. So these are the four. But I think among all four of them, it's only the Islamic Republic that has the ambition to take over the whole world. Like, even the rest of them, I mean, Russia wants to take over Eastern Europe. North Korea, doesn't probably have any ambition beyond its neighborhood, and China, I think China has been, even though the CCP is causing so many problems around the world, I think they're benefiting so much from the world order that has been created since World War II economically, that they don't want to see it collapse. It's only the Islamic Republic that is actually fully invested in seeing this whole thing collapse. That's why I see them as not maybe as powerful, more powerful than the rest of them, but actually the most dangerous one. That's why I think that they're the top of the list. So would you? Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, just saying. You're right. That's a good point. That I don't know that China doesn't have global ambitions, because, for example, they're very active in Africa, where it's hard to see that they have any real geopolitical interests unless they have global aspirations. But as far as Iran and the Islamic Republic go, there's no doubt about that whatsoever, that Islam has a global imperative, and they consider themselves to be the exponents of it today. So this is something that unfortunately nobody in the West is paying any attention to, but it's very real.
Would you agree that supporting Israel right now is supporting the entire world, because Israel is paying the heavy price more than other countries? Like, it's doing what other countries should be doing as well, but Israel is paying the heavy price for it, standing between the world and its enemies. And the more we support Israel today, the more basically we're supporting this evil spreading into the rest of the world. Do you think that's an exaggeration, or do you think that's fair?
No, I think that's spot on, Armin. Look at what you were just saying, that the Islamic Republic has global aspirations, and those come out of
Right.
Islam. And there are believers in Islam all over the world. And among those believers are some who think that it's their responsibility to advance the interests of the believers and gain their dominance over the non-believers, because this is what the Quran and Muhammad command. And so Israel is on the front lines of the defense against that. People don't realize it's the same struggle, and that we are all in their sights as well, but we are. And so Israel is doing a job for the entire world.
What about supporting the Iranian people and also supporting the recent surge in unity between the Iranian people and Israeli people? I mean, even before October 7th, we saw many videos from Iran, people refusing to step on Israel's flag. I don't know if you've seen these videos; those are famous, where the Islamic Republic will paint Israel's flags on the ground, and many people, hundreds of people, will go around it, refusing to step on it. So that was just respect, but now respect has turned to actual admiration and very heavy support, and that's growing in Iran. And I will just quickly say the way I look at it and see if you agree, because I think the Iranian people and Israeli people complete each other, because Iranian people are unarmed. Israel has the best weapons and they really know how to use it. However, what Israel lacks is boots on the ground. And if you want to topple the Islamic Republic, you need presence of people there to capture the building, capture the institutions, capture the military bases. And Israel, obviously, nobody else is going to do this. For like, United States is not going to come to Iran and have boots on the ground. Israel doesn't share a border with Iran. Israel might have is able to send soldiers into Gaza or to Lebanon or to Syria, but Iran is so big, is so wide, and is far away, and they don't have enough manpower to do something that is required. So, but the boots on the ground are the Iranian people. So I think the Iranian people and Israeli people, if they cooperate with each other, they both are they complete each other. They both are providing what the other ones lack. So, and again, if ending the Islamic Republic is so important for the future of the world, I think building this bridge and supporting this unity is the key here. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. The Iranian people have to be the ones who topple the Islamic Republic. Nobody else can do it. And it's very difficult, as you know, because the Islamic Republic is so ruthless and crushes any sign, anything close to a sign of dissent. They just arrested 120,000 people on suspicion of spying for Israel, which is so ridiculous that I'm sure there are spies for Israel among the population in Iran, but it looks as if they're just arresting everybody they can and trying to hope that they find some spies in the process. And so it has to be, yes, some kind of an operation where the Iranian people get what they need to topple the Islamic Republic from Israel, ideally from the United States. And this is very delicate, you know. Ordinarily, I would say, well, the CIA is something that I'd like to see shut down and all the records opened and we see exactly what they've been up to all these years. But if we can't shut it down, then let's use it for good for once and help the people in Iran get what they need to topple the Islamic Republic. And that's this kind of thing they've been engaged in all over the world. I don't know why they couldn't do it there. But in any case, it is certainly, I mean, obviously you're right. The Israelis can't send troops and shouldn't send troops into Iran, and nor should the Americans. But we do need to be figuring out ways somehow to aid the people there to get rid of the regime. And it's very clear everybody hates the regime in Iran. It wouldn't last long if the people had the resources to topple it.
I mean, to your point, when it comes to the number of arrests, it's not just that they're hoping to get some spies. It's also because they use it as a way to scare everyone else. Like
Yeah.
my friends in Iran, they when they see so many people being arrested just for liking, or like some people who even criticize the government for their handling of the situation during the 12-day war, they have been arrested for being spies of Israel. Like I was just telling, like they didn't even say anything about Israel, and they're still getting arrested. But that's just the way. I mean, the Islamic Republic has become really good at only one thing. They suck at everything else, and that's suppressing and oppressing their own people. They have mastered that art, and that's why a lot of people say, "Oh, why haven't the Iranian people risen up after the 12-day war?" They don't understand how good the Iranian people have came out many times, and they paid the heaviest price for it. The Islamic Republic doesn't just kill people, doesn't just torture people, doesn't just blind people. They also torture your family. They also use rape in prison against both men and women after they're arrested as a way to and they make sure that other people find out. There are so many people who have been released from the Islamic Republic's prisons, people who were so brave and they were willing to die to free Iran, but then what they did to them made them come and end their life after they were released. Because the Islamic Republic knows that so many Iranian people are brave, so they have to scare them with something worse than death to get the Iranian people silence. And also, recently, the Islamic Republic has gotten really good. Like last time, people were considering coming out. As soon as they came into the streets were filled with anti-riot police, heavily geared, heavily armored vehicles. There were more soldiers than people. For every person in the street, there were 3 soldiers. And everybody understands that as soon as I chant, I'm going to get completely crushed and defeated. So I think a lot of people who are waiting for the Iranian people now to rise up don't understand what the situation right now is in Iran is. And what Israel could do, and they were about to do this at the end of the 12-day war, they were starting to. They could take out the main decision makers, because they already took out the main decision makers when it comes to attacking Israel, but they could also now take out the main decision makers when it comes to controlling the anti-riot forces and their bases, destroying their bases, destroying their base of operation and all the resources they have. If they do that, then and also if they tell the Iranian people that if you come into the streets and we see anti-riot police, we will target the anti-riot police. If they say that, then a lot of Iranian people will see that as a way, and I hope they actually deliver on that promise, because right now they say we're going to support the Iranian people, but I think it needs to be clear that it's going to be a military support with drones, with, I don't know, missiles, when the Iranian people go face to face with their oppressors. That's what I think is needed to topple the regime. But yeah. I don't know. I think, yeah. Do you agree with that?
That was brilliant to me, that if they could take out the people who are constructing all these instruments of oppression and making it impossible for demonstrations to take place and torturing and killing the people who demonstrate, then that would be the end of the Islamic Republic. And so, right. They got Ismail Haniyeh, and so anything can happen.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, they were starting to do that at the end of the 12-day war, and then Trump stopped it. Another thing that the world could do, I don't know what you think about this. By the way, guys, I will read your super chats at the end. But another thing that they could do is to recognize Reza Pahlavi.
Yes.
Because Reza Pahlavi, you agree with that? Okay, let me know what you think about it.
Yeah, because see, there's somebody who's already got a big base of support within Iran. And he's already said he won't come in and just assume he's going to be the Shah and reign until he dies. But he will come in and oversee things so that there's an orderly transition until there's Iranian people choose the kind of government that they want. What could be the problem with that? And there's somebody, have you seen the videos? I'm sure you've seen more than I have, of the stadiums full of people, and they're chanting, "Long live Reza Shah." And so his grandson is just the guy to send in, and the one who could be a stabilizing force in the post-Islamic Republic period.
Well, I mean, I don't know, now that you mentioned stadiums full of people mentioning, there is even more chance. Let me actually tell you about 2 other chants. Okay, so that chant that they say "Long live Reza Shah," we actually now have chants talking about mentioning Reza Pahlavi himself, saying King Reza Pahlavi. And also one of the more favorite chants now are Iran shode amade farman bede shah shode, which means Iran is ready now give us the order, our prince. But another chant that I don't know if you've seen that is very popular in stadiums is this. Can I show it to you? Because I think you might enjoy this one if you haven't seen it. Hold on. And this is in Iran. And so I don't know if you understand how much of risk these people are taking. I think you're going to enjoy this. Hold on. And I could actually tell you that the translation is correct. So let me actually play this. That's an entire stadium of Iranians inside Iran chanting, "Shove the Palestinian flag up your ass." And I don't know if people understand what big of the fact that this is coming from inside Iran, how big it is. And also recently we had another stadium, basically the entire stadium chanting that. And the Iranian national TV was broadcasting that football game live, so the guy was trying to speak over it so that people could not hear it on TV at their homes. But what do you think about that? Have you seen this chant?
No, I haven't seen that. That's very exciting. I have seen many indications that the Iranian people are fed up with the regime's support for Hezbollah, for Hamas, for all of them, and they have chanted, they have demonstrated, saying you should be taking care of your own people and not sending all the money over to these jihadis abroad. And so this is something that's been building for a long time.
Yep. Many Iranian people, when they hear the name Palestine, they feel nothing but rage, because the whole Palestinian cause is the main reason for their government to do everything that it's doing. Like all the resources that it has been wasted, all the terrorist attacks that they do, everything that they do is for the sake of something that has nothing to do with Iran, has nothing to do with the Iranian people. So that's why so many Iranian people, when they hear the name Palestine, they start swearing. Oh, by the way, you might like this as well. There's another thing, a chant in Iran. They say, Ham Islam, Ham Quran, Har do Fadai Islam. They say both Islam and the Quran, sacrifice both of them for the sake of Iran. One thing that I don't agree with, that some Iranians say, is that no Muslim is Iranian and no Iranian is Muslim. Meaning, I don't agree with that, because I think legally, if you are a citizen of a country, you're a citizen of a country. But I'm just trying to show you the attitudes people have, that if you have decided to be a Muslim, you're not a real Iranian. There
is a lot of hypocrisy. I'm sure you know about the what is it, Gaman, the survey that was from a couple of years ago, and only 40% of people in Iran still say they're Muslim. And that's supposed to be a country 99% Muslim. But now they're so disgusted with the Islamic Republic that most people are willing to tell a survey that they have left Islam.
Yes, and that was an academic poll, and that shows within 40 years we have had the greatest mass exodus out of a religion.
Yes,
in the history of the world. Basically, half of Iranians within their lifetime has left a religion. This has never happened in history within 40 years, within one lifetime. This is why I think like the Iranian people are the greatest force against Islam, because I think you will not find more hatred for Islam in any country more than in Iran.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people think that yeah.
Oh, I'm just agreeing. You're absolutely right. Yeah. In the West, people have been propagandized for 25 years or more, all about how Islam is a religion of peace and Islamophobia is a big problem. But in Iran, they know better, because they experience Islam, the real thing, all the time. And they have the memory of what life was like without it when the Shah was there. And so they don't like Islam very much at all.
What do you think about the Iranian Muslims who are anti-government? Because in Iran, we tell them, like, listen, we disagree on Islam, but we are trying to bring a secular Iran. Like, we're not trying to eliminate you. We're trying to, when Iran becomes secular, you could advertise Islam, as long as we're also free to advertise against Islam. But a lot of Iranians are saying, some Iranians who are also anti-Islam tell us that maybe we should stop with the anti-Islamic rhetoric because we also have some allies who are Muslims against the Islamic Republic, and we don't want to lose them. But I don't. Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking you, what do they want? Do they want an Islamic Republic that's sweeter? What do they want?
No. They want. So the same polls that you mentioned shows actually that even most Muslims in Iran want a secular Iran. Even Muslims.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then there's a problem with aligning with them.
Yeah, but they say that. So they tell us that, okay, if you keep advertising against Islam, they're going to think that a secular Iran means an Iran that we will come and hunt down the Muslims, right? And we're trying to tell them, like, no, it just means that you are free to advertise Islam and we are free to advertise against Islam. That's all it means. You could go.
Islam is the one with the death penalty for apostasy. Nobody's saying if you become a Muslim, we'll kill you. Nobody says that. But the Islam says if you leave Islam, we'll kill you. And so what you should be telling them is, all we want is that you're not hunting us down for not being Muslim anymore.
But some of them think, and it's less and less right now, like a lot of Muslims in Iran have accepted the fact that so many Iranians are anti-Islam, and they are like, this is just the normal now. Mm-hmm. But some of them think that because how bad Islam was to us, we are going to do the same thing to Muslims.
Yes.
Once we get the upper hand, once we win. I mean, I have
frame of reference, so they figure everybody's going to behave the same way. And terror. If terror is the only tool of the Islamic Republic, then the foes of the Republic must only operate on terror as well.
I mean, I have, like, Robert, you're going to love this. I have some friends in Iran that tell me, some of their Muslim friends tell me that think that the Islamic Republic is going to fall any day now. They come to their non-Muslim friends and like, hey guys, like, please don't shoot me. I'm with you guys. Like, guys, don't shoot me. I'm like, I know I'm a Muslim, but I'm with you guys.
Incredible. But it's understandable. It's very hard, you know. It's easy, relatively speaking. I shouldn't say it's easy at all in any context. It's very hard to leave Islam because of all the threats and all the fear that it inculcates within people. But it's even harder than that if you've left Islam to get rid of all the attitudes that it inculcates within you, because a lot of times you're not even aware, and they have them reflexively. And people who are still Muslims but don't like the regime, they're going to be assuming, they're going to be looking at things through that prism. And that means, yeah, of course, they're going to assume that you're going to be just as repressive in reverse.
Right. It doesn't help that there are a few people on our side that do think that we need to be hunting mullahs down. Like, there's a few, but the Islamic Republic takes their voices and amplifies it to scare its Muslims. But there are a few. It doesn't help that there are a few that think that, okay, after the Islamic Republic fall, like, one thing that some people were suggesting, and again, most Iranians are against that, but they were saying that there needs to be, for every tree, there needs to be a mullah. Like, and I'm not going to expand on what that means. Basically talking about hanging people, right? But again, when the Islamic Republic loves that, it takes that and says, like, guys, even if you're against me, you should stand with me, because look at what these people are going to do. But again, that's not that's a minority of people. I'm just letting you know giving you the full picture of what I'm saying in here.
Yeah, well, it's understandable the Islamic regime would use that because they want to make people afraid and afraid of what might happen if they fall. And so they want to spread those ideas. So it's important for the opposition, such as it is, to repudiate whenever that kind of thing is enunciated, to repudiate it and make it very clear that that's not what they're about. But of course, the Shah's son is not going to do something like that. So here again, great thing to bring him back.
Yes, and also I know I'm not defending this position, but I understand why it happens. Also, like, even though it's few, like, a lot of people, when they see that, they condemn it, and I condemn it as well. But they don't understand what price the Iranian people have paid for because of the Islamic Republic. The lives that have been destroyed, and why there's so much anger. So it's not acceptable, but it's natural. It's not acceptable, but it's expectable expected for you to see such reactions from a country that has been, from a people that are being, I mean, the poverty, the oppression, the brutality has been bone crushing. So I don't think other people could look at this from outside and judge unless they have experienced what it is like to live under the Islamic Republic.
Yeah, I'm only talking about the not handing the enemy a weapon. That's
right.
all.
Yeah. No. I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about And also your point regarding Reza Pahlavi. What do you think? Would you be able to? I'm gonna ask you in front of everybody this. Would you be able to mention him because you have a big audience and people look up to you and people follow and you do great writings? Yeah. Would you be able to actually like maybe write an article about him and why people should be supporting him? Would you?
Yeah,
be able
I appreciate you thinking it would matter, but sure,
Okay.
I'll write an article about that. I wrote a book. I don't know if you know. I wrote a book. It's almost 10 years ago now. The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran, and
yes, I know that.
It's I don't know. I was looking through it recently when Iran was back in the news, and I thought this isn't that bad a book. But in any case, I'm only saying just that in order to get that book together, I studied a good bit about Iran, and so I could write an article about the prince and call for his return. No problem.
Oh my God! Thank you so much. Well, these are like I know about that book, but these are the books of you that I have read. By the way, guys, you should read these books. Actually, you have two. This one is outdated. You have another version, right?
Yeah, I revised it a few years ago because there was so much more. So I added some things and expanded the book a bit. And this is the edition that you can get now. The one you've got is gone. And also I wrote another book last year that is a biography of Muhammad, goes through the stories from the Hadith and Sirah literature and compares different versions and shows how it's all made up essentially, and there are variants in the stories just as you would expect from legendary development.
Yeah, I was telling Robert, guys, before we went live that even on this channel, I have turned the things that I learned from this book into content for you guys, and you guys loved it. But in Iran, I also, on my Persian channel for my Iranian audience, I mean, I have to be fair. It's not just Iranian audience because there are some people from Afghanistan who speak Persian, some people from Tajikistan and other places who speak Persian as well. But my audience is mostly Iranian, right? And they love the content from your book that I turn into videos. I mean, I was hoping that is that okay that I turn it into videos because is it because it's copyrighted? I just use it okay, I have your permission to make it into video content.
The only thing I would ask is you'd say where you got it. So mention the book.
I do. I do.
Yeah.
I mentioned it multiple times. That's
so to get the information out there. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. People are in love with the content on the Persian side and the content from your book. So has it been translated into Persian? Because I really think this is like the main nail into the coffin for Islam. Like this is all you need. Like I don't think this is like the evidence that you provide in this book for why all of the stories are made up is undeniable. Like this is the end of
version. Yeah. I'll send you, if you let me know where to send it, I'll send you the new version after the show. But anyway, the translation is very complicated because unfortunately that's part of the contract that the publisher takes care of that, and the publisher wants to deal with another publisher, and there's no publisher in Iran that is going to publish this book, of course, but it could happen under the radar, behind the scenes. If anybody wants to do it, please do. I hope you have the translation accurate. I don't know Farsi, I can't tell, but go ahead. Do your best and spread it around as much as you can in Iran. And thank you.
Nice. Would you agree that this is the way to basically I mean, to fight Islam, because I think, because a lot of people, all the arguments for why these teachings of Islam are wrong, if it had like it's already out there. Like people, the
Yes.
information is accessible. I think there's not much more we could do to say. I mean, if you're not convinced by why it's not okay for somebody to have sex with a 9-year-old, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Right? So like that is like there's not much more you could do on that front. So I think this is the new front that we could actually try a different angle. This is
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, having written 2.5 books on it, so or 1.5, no, 2.5, yeah, because I revised that one and then wrote the other. So in any case, yeah, I think that it's an approach. I've noticed something, that the Islamic apologists on YouTube, I don't do a whole lot of videos myself where I'm speaking, I'm guests on shows, but sometimes I do videos. But the point is, I know there's this whole community here and people who do videos about Islam on both sides. And there are the Dawagandists, the Dawa people who spread Islam, and then the people who are Christians or atheists or whatever, and they reply to them, and it goes back and forth. And I see a lot of discussion about like Aisha being a child and all those things that have been discussed for years. But the Islamic apologists, as far as I know, they don't have any answer to this about Muhammad not existing and the stories being fictional. They've never heard these arguments. They don't have any way to reply. They assumed that it was all things like Muhammad talking and people writing everything down, and it's not. And, so I think it can be very powerful, yes. But there's a lot of confusion also, I have to say, because there are critics of Islam who I respect a great deal, who think, oh, this is terrible, you shouldn't be talking this way, because then that'll be the easy way for them to say, oh, Aisha wasn't a child. You're just saying it's a made-up story, it never happened. Well, that's not the point. The stories say what they say, and Muslims
right.
And so we have to know what they say and criticize them on that basis. And they do say Aisha was a child, so we have to hit them on that basis. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, a second level of the argument is that these stories were fabricated for political reasons. And so people may have made up the Aisha stories because they wanted to engage in child marriage and so on. But that the historical value does not change the fact that this is something that is in the Islamic texts about Muhammad.
Right. That's the way I look at it. I think every single Quranic verse and every single Hadith line was there because it served somebody. There was somebody at some point that gained some utility from this. That's why they added that line somewhere. So that's yeah. So I mean, it's a beautiful mystery to solve, because if you look at it, I mean, I actually enjoy Islam this way, because it looks like a box of enigma, because they're like, okay, this Hadith, why the hell somebody would write this? Like, what political advantage, what economic advantage? Like most of it hasn't been, if you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, like the evolution of this meme of Islam, if you try to dissect every single line, then it's like a very interesting detective work that you have to go through. That is,
and I did some of that in this book, and that's, that's the idea of this. Like, why were these things invented? What is the whole idea here? And it also takes care of the whole argument that I think is the strongest argument for the accuracy of the texts, that some of these stories are so embarrassing they never would have made them up, and that's true. And
Zayd and Zainab, that was the most fascinating part of the book, the story of Zainab. I tell that story everywhere after I read this in this book. The actual utility is to show Muhammad was the Khatam al-Anbiya, the last of the seal of the Prophet. That was the point of the story. That was beautiful. I every time I get a chance, I repeat that part from this book.
And you see, there's no way to explain chapter 33 of the Quran otherwise. Why does it say he's the seal of the prophets right there after it mentioned Zayd and the whole story of Zainab, unless it's because of that? There's no other, otherwise it's just a non sequitur. It just changes the subject without warning, which the Quran does a lot. But if you can see why there is something that makes sense, there's no reason to reject that.
You mentioned some people was, I think you mentioned people like David Wood, who would say that we should we're fighting Islam and Muhammad. Oh,
Sorry.
And if you basically try to dismiss all of these stories, then what are we fighting against? The example I give, I don't know if you think this is a good example.
Sorry about that. I thought my ringer was off.
Oh, no worries. That's fine. The example I give usually is I could read Harry Potter and say Voldemort is an evil character. Yes. I mean, people wouldn't deny, like, I don't think people are like, oh, Armin, how could you say Voldemort is evil? Don't you know that this is fiction? I'm like, yeah, but
that's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So you think that's a good example? Okay.
Yeah, I studied Shakespeare in college. And so we read Macbeth, and we had to talk about, what did Macbeth do? What did he say here? What did he do there? And nobody ever said, wait a minute, Macbeth didn't do anything. He was fictional. And so it's exactly like that. All these things are stories designed to make various points for various Islamic factions, and they're put together for that reason. And that does not mean that Muslims don't believe them and act upon them. And we have to know that. But that in turn doesn't mean that they really happened.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one last question, but after I ask my last question, would you have time to? We have 6 super chats. Would I be able to go through them with you? Okay, I know you've been very generous with your time, so I'm not going to keep you. So my last question is a challenging one regarding, so we're against Islam, but we have many Muslims who are good people. I think me and you would agree the reason why they're good people is because they're not following Islam, thankfully, right?
Yeah.
However, I mean, maybe they will say, no, I am following Islam, but we think that their reading of Islam is incorrect. Mm-hmm. And I think that these are people who are better than Islam, right? Yeah. Even though they might not agree with that. However, these Muslims who are good people, if they're fighting the same fight for reasons that, they might think it's compatible with Islam, but we think it's not, would you consider them as allies?
Oh,
if they are fight, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, I've said that for 20 some years now. I started Jihad Watch, jihadwatch.org, which is the news site about jihad activity, in October 2003. And so that's almost 22 years now. And in there, I think it still says it somewhere in the material explaining what the site's for and so on, that any Muslim who renounces jihad, renounces all this supremacism and oppression, we're happy to work with you. But nobody's ever taken me up on that. Except one, the late Tashbi Sayed, who used to be a member of the Jihad Watch board. And he was a Muslim, and he was a reformist, a genuine reformist, who spoke about how they had to challenge the idea of Muhammad as the perfect example and so on. And so I pay tribute to him.
I'm happy to report to you that I have been working with Muslim Iranians who know I am aggressively anti-Islam. And I also have been working with this man called Mehdi. His name is Mehdi Nasiri. And he used to work directly for Khamenei. He was his media arm.
Oh, my.
He's in Canada now. They're trying to kick him out of Canada, back to Iran, even though he's anti-regime. The leftists are after him. His Mehdi Nasiri, his name. He's still a Muslim, and he's Muslim, and he is religious, but he has accepted anti-Islam activists as his ally against the Islamic Republic, and he's very friendly towards us. And he understands that anti-Islam activism doesn't mean anti-Muslim activism. He understands that, and
very important distinction. And the Western Islamic apologists and the leftists do their best to elide that and obscure that distinction. And this is very insidious because they want to portray criticism of Islam as being anti-Muslim, which everybody, why would you be against any group of people? That sounds terrible. And so you look me up on Wikipedia, it says I'm an anti-Muslim activist, and I've always denied being anti anyone. I am talking about an ideology. I'm not talking about people. But they always, if anybody takes it out, they put it back because it's part of the propaganda campaign to discredit opposition to Islam.
In fact, if I usually say, I don't know if you agree with this, Muslims, we're anti-Islam partly for the sake of Muslims, because Muslims are the first victims of Islam.
Yes.
Muslims are the first victim of Islam. Okay. And also, you might want to look into Mehdi Nasiri, because leftists who are against Reza Pahlavi are trying to kick him out of Canada so that he goes back to Iran and get persecuted by the Islamic Republic. But they are pretending that they want to kick him out of Canada because he used to work with the Islamic Republic. But the only reason why they're trying to kick him out of Canada is because he's supporting Reza Pahlavi now. And the Iranian leftists are anti-Israel and anti-Reza Pahlavi, and that's the real reason why they're trying to kick him out.
Yeah,
anyway,
totally corrupt.
Right. Okay, I'm really quickly going to go over the super chats. Again, I'm going to try to do it quick because I know you've been very generous with your time. James is saying, let me highlight it again. James is saying, I agree Islam is a threat, but ADL calls you a bigot and conspiracist. How do you respond and ensure your critique is fair and not bigoted or racist? I think we just answered that question right now.
ADL is not an honest broker in this. Fact is, I would challenge anybody to go through. I've written 32 books. I've written thousands of articles. I've written 50, 60,000 blog posts at Jihad Watch. Find one that is racist. Find one that's bigoted. Find one that says, oh, because Muslims are what? Arab? What is it? What's it supposed to be? I mean, Armin's not an Arab. So what's it supposed to be? Anti what? Which race? But if you pick a race and say, I hate it, find me hating it. Find me saying something like this. There isn't anything like this. These are charges that have no basis, that are used in, like I just said, so I'm repeating myself now, sorry, but that are used to discredit the whole opposition to jihad violence and the oppression that comes from Sharia.
In fact, not only you're not anti-Arab, you actually work with anti-Islamic Arabs a lot. The anti-Islam activism has grown among Arabs. I mean, just go look at the Arabic YouTube. The anti-Islamic content is growing so faster than any other anti-Islamic content I've ever seen. So that's another people. Yeah. And Sean is saying America's blind spot is that we view everything through the lens of freedom and opportunity. Not everything is motivated by that.
Very important. Yep, okay. You're absolutely right, Shauna.
Yeah. I just don't want to generalize all Americans, but I see your point. Elad is saying France is responsible for a lot. Look at Africa. I mean, that was a different time. I don't know if it's fair to blame France. I think I could blame France now for what's happening in Iran because they continue to do that, but I don't want to blame France now for what they did before in Africa, because that was a different France. Do you think that's fair?
France now that was fighting the Al-Qaeda groups in Mali and in that general area in West Africa, and then cut and run. And so now the jihadis are gaining everywhere and they're defeating the national armies. It's a very serious situation, and it's only going to get worse. So I'm not a fan of France myself.
Okay, I don't want to blame France entirely because I know there's a lot of very anti-Islamic French people that would not be I don't want to generalize. I don't want to.
I'm talking about the government.
Yeah, the government. Right.
The thing is, here again we have the problem between the West and the Islamic world, that the West thinks of a war as, okay, we'll fight a war for 2 or 3 years or whatever, and then it ends. And the jihad never ends. So the French, they think, we're tired of fighting in West Africa. We're going to bring our troops home. And that's reasonable. That's understandable. But meanwhile, the jihad continues. And so it never ends. And I suppose I shouldn't blame the French for not wanting to fight it forever, but somebody's going to have to deal with it, or the free societies in the West are going to be destroyed ultimately.
And Jean is saying, hello from Robert's probably only non-binary fan. Shalom.
Hello, only non-binary fan.
Yeah, Jean is non-binary in Israel. Well, thank you, Gene, for the super chat. And then we have, I don't know how to pronounce your name, saying Trump stopped regime change in Iran to save the Abraham Accords. Do you see a way for both to succeed? If no, which is more important for peace in the Middle East? I think Trump stopped it mostly because of pressure from isolationist MAGA. That's the reason why Trump stopped it.
Yeah, I think
That
so.
was the
But
yeah.
the fact is, at the same time, if the Islamic Republic falls, the Abraham Accords are over because they're based on a shared threat from Iran that the Sunni states feel and that Israel feels. And so if Iran's no longer a threat, there's no need for the Abraham Accords. And the Sunni states are already under pressure from significant portions of their populations because of the Abraham Accords. And people saying you're allying with the Jews against Muslims. This is terrible. And so the Abraham Accords would die if the Islamic Republic died. But I think, well, that's worth it. We need to get rid of the Islamic Republic.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you've heard of the Cyrus Accords, something in replace. Okay, so Reza Pahlavi introduced the term Cyrus Accords, which would include everybody in the Abrahamic Accord, and also Cyrus. The Cyrus the Great is the person that both the Jews and Persians admire. So that would include Iran in there, and it would be more based on economic development and trade rather than just military cooperation against the Islamic Republic. So that's
bring him back.
Hmm?
All the more reason to bring him back.
Nice. Okay, so love to hear. I don't know if you noticed, but every time you say something positive about Reza Pahlavi, I'm actually so glad that you're familiar with him and you support him. Yeah. Okay. So,
might not be today, but certainly today or tomorrow.
Oh my God, thank you. Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'm looking forward to that. Sam is saying, thank you, Robert, for all your important work. Well, thank you, Sam. And then last super chat, Wheeler is saying France is active in Africa now.
Yeah,
but I think Robert is saying not enough.
They're withdrawing. They've already withdrawn a lot of their forces, and they're cutting out altogether. And the problem is the jihadis are just seeing it as now we have free reign. And so I'm not in favor of these endless wars. And so I understand how the French feel, but it's an intractable problem. What are you going to do as the jihad continues to advance in Africa? And they're better equipped. The jihadis are better equipped and better funded than the national militaries. That is really that's the answer right there. Nobody seems curious about who's funding Al-Qaeda in the not Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, Al-Qaeda West Africa province. I'm sorry, the Islamic State West Africa province, ISWAP, and Al-Qaeda in West Africa as well. Who's funding them? Who's equipping them? That needs to be discovered and the money cut off, and then a lot of the problem will melt away because they won't be able to continue to pursue the jihad.
Do you know who's funding them?
I don't. And I don't see anybody even looking into it.
I know the Shia groups in Africa are being funded by the Islamic Republic. So the Islamic Republic is, yeah. Okay. All right, Robert, I took more of your time than I promised, so I apologize for that, and I thank you for your generous time. Guys, please, again, well, I know the new version, not this one that I'm holding. Please make sure you check out this book. This book is fascinating. It's fascinating. Please go read it.
Amazon, this is the one.
Yes, and also check out Jihad Watch.
Revised and expanded edition there.
Oh no, okay. I need the PDF version of that because I like to
use, send me an email. I'll send you back the PDF.
Oh my God, thank you so much. Guys, also check out Jihad Watch. If you don't know what Jihad Watch is, you're missing out. It's a really anybody that is trying to monitor Islamic activity around the world. Jihad Watch is a really good resource. Robert is responsible for that, and the link to that website is in the description. I know most of you already know about it. D is saying thanks, Robert. People are saying thank you, Robert. Well, thank you, guys. All right, Robert, I'm going to end the stream so that I don't take more of your time. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Talking to you.
Thank you. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.
See you later.
See you.